This is the precise information that I used that helped me to level up all the way from 700 as a beginner player, all the way up into 1700 as almost an advanced player. And also I took then that information to win tournaments, play against title players, and so on. I want to quickly share with all of you how to avoid like one movers. Because if you're like a beginner, it's obviously like something that you struggle with, or either you're utilizing it enough. What happens? The thinking process that usually leads to you making a one mover is you want to make a move and then you realize that you've actually made a blunder. Basically what happens is we need to reverse this process. You need to first of all do like a blunder check for all of your moves. That's first. Secondly, you need to make sure that there is no free material out there that you can take. And then once you make sure that none of these happen, you execute on the move that you want. Because the first thinking process is, I'll show you this example right here. But usually what happens is you first of all make sure that the move that you make doesn't give free material. You make sure that then your opponent didn't mistakenly give you free material and you've missed it, because then you can literally win immediately. And if both of these do not happen, then you make the move. In this example, Black made a blunder that we've talked about. Basically, you can see that the best move is to move the knight. It's obvious why. But the thinking process that leads to this, and you know this yourself already, is you make the move, and then you notice that the knight can be captured like this. You need to reverse this. What that means is that you basically need to do almost like a blunder check before every move that you make. For example, in here, before Black moves the bishop, he very simply needs to ask, what is under threat over the board? If you look at this, you will not even have like false candidates that you will think about, because you will immediately understand the knight that I have is under threat. I need to move it somewhere, otherwise it will be captured. And then in your thinking process, and in my thinking process, moves like bishop to g4, they just don't come up, because you think, first of all, I need to save material. So you can frame it in this way. One, what is under threat on my side? Two, what can I capture, if I can capture anything via tactic or like any other capture? And third of all, how can I make my pieces more active? And we'll talk about the third one further, and I'm gonna show you how you can execute this. But basically, if I ask this, what is under threat on my side of the board, I'll just say that I just need to move the knight. It's very shortly how you avoid blunders. Let's now talk about the activity part. I want to quickly show you this example, just to prove something to you. I want you to look at these two knights and ask yourself which one of them is actually better. Obviously, the knight in the middle is better, the knight on e5. The knight on e5 controls, but why is he better on the center? It's because on the center he controls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. The knight on a2, on the other hand, controls just 2. That is the reason that the knight on e5 is better. If I, for example, even replace these two knights with anything else, let's say I replace these knights with bishops. For example, bishop on e5, and let's say bishop on h8. It's the exact same concept. I have a bishop on h1 that controls just one diagonal, and then I have another bishop on e5 that controls 2. Basically, what this means for us is that the rules that we have on chess are based on activity. They are based on how much squares does one piece control. From this, we learn. This helps you, by the way, also gain intuition into understanding which side is better in a position. So I'll show you an example for this. Let's take this for an example. And let's ask you which side is better in here. You would intuitively say that white is better. Even if you can't explain precisely why, you will say that white is better. But the reason that you will have like an intuition to say that white is better, it's because the pieces of white control more. You can see that there is a knight on d5 that controls squares of the opponent. That's one example. The bishop of black is actually limited to just 2 squares. The same applies for your bishop that controls much less. And also, white has pawns and pieces that progress towards black's side of the board. What do we learn from this? In our thinking process, there always needs to be some side that just asks, how can I progress towards my enemy king and take or attack something? If we want to summarize it into one sentence, how can I progress to my opponent's side of the board and make complexity there, to take something to it or to attack something, make it harder for the opponent? And that's how you by the way, gain like an ability to stand against very strong players. I'm telling you from experience, this game happened against someone who I know, who's much stronger than I am, and I'm white in here. And all I was thinking really was just progress in the position. I'll show you the beginning of the game. So let's take a small snippet from this game, just to develop this intuition in you, to be able to criticize moves, to say, are they good, are they bad, are they fine? This is the example of the game. Okay, and let's say now that I'm black. Okay, I'm black, rook to b8. What do you think about this move? Is this going to be a good move? Is it going to be a bad move? What do you think about this? Again, from what we've understood so far, we do blunder checks, and then we ask, how can I move my pieces towards the opponent's side of the board and make problems there? According to this, the move rook to b8 doesn't really help me as black to make trouble for you, and therefore it's kind of like an idle move. It doesn't do much. Instead, the computer suggests a5. It's bad because it doesn't help us to be more active. We've done the move f5. What do you think about this move? Well, in my opinion, I could have probably done something with the pieces, but I don't think it's that good because it doesn't help my pieces to become more active. It just moves a pawn. It could be a good one, but it's not the best. But I think you understand the rule. Before every move that I make, I basically ask, how can I make my pieces control more squares? f5 might be okay. It helps my queen with a diagonal against the king and progress here, but it's not an amazing move. Let's put it this way. It's maybe a continuation move. Let's progress a little bit. Okay, then we have a move like knight to e5. What do you think about this move? It says that it's an inaccuracy. But why do you think that's the case? Again, the computer wants the same thing. It wants us to do the move a5. It wants us to progress these pawns. So what this means is that once the two sides castle, it's basically about who can deliver the attack faster, who can develop more pieces and have them aim at more squares of the enemy king. So that's it about positional understanding and activity. Throughout the opening and the middle game, the questions that we ask are, how can I progress my pieces towards the enemy side of the board? If they castled, then it's towards the enemy king, and control more squares of the opponent. That's how you ask it. And by the way, if you're a beginner, you can use this rule, and I reckon it's going to make your opponents blunder a lot more. So you could basically like take more material from them. Very easy. This is a thing you can do. I want to give you also some short tips for the game itself. All right, I'll just move to the start because this does not really matter now. Let's say, for example, we are talking about openings. What openings should you learn and why? If you're a beginner, then you need an opening that has a lot of traps in it to help you win more material against the opponent. I'll give an example for an opening that you can learn. It's called the fried liver attack. It's a very useful one when you start, but you can learn literally any one that you would like. It could be whatever one you like, the Queen's Gambit, just one for each side. Learn the first 10 moves of the opening. And it's better to learn just 2 than to learn, for example, 4 and be mid at all of them. There's the first one, which is opening, 2 endgames, 3 calculations, possessional play, there is board evaluation, psychology, and then there is strategies, and you have tactics. Basically, there are 8 topics in the game of chess, and you need to get better in all of them in order to get better at the game. But in the first stages, as a beginner, you don't need a lot of them. You need just openings, you need positional play, openings, positional play, calculations, and tactics. That's the important ones that you need to learn in order to develop as a beginner. On the screen right now, I share with you the best places, in my opinion, to actually go and study these things from. That's it for today's video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer all of them. I will see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.